RWBY, Volume 5, Episode 10, True Colors. What happens? The episode begins with Crow and Oscar chatting about the missing huntsman until RWBY shows up to ask some questions. Leo calls Crow to tell him the plot can get moving again, and we jump over to Leo's office where he talks about his motivations a bit with Raven. Over on Menagerie, the Belladonnas are still under attack. Blake and Ilya talk about morals while sometimes shooting at each other, until Gira and the brothers burst in. The fight continues between a lot of shots of people just looking at each other. Ilya almost gets hurt, but doesn't. Fennec blows up, and Ilya switches sides. After getting everyone out of the house, Blake makes a speech that magically convinces the Faunus to help fight at Haven, and then everyone just forgives Ilya and welcomes her into the friend group. This scene is boring. Crow and Ozpin slowly talking about nothing new is a dull way to begin the episode. If you insist on setting up a conversation in the previous episode, one would hope that conversation would provide some valuable new information. But no, the two just give us some recap on the situation. RWBY's inclusion doesn't help much either. Yeah, knowing if Cinder got Beacon's relic is important, but they already told us she didn't have it back in Volume 4. Remember? In its third episode, Salem told her Seeker that the relic is there. We don't need Ozpin slowly telling RWBY this when we already know. Having the heroes get caught up on info is important, but shouldn't take up the bulk of a scene. This is the biggest problem with Roosterteeth's habit of showing the audience the villain's plans all the time. We're then stuck watching the heroes learn everything in real time. While RWBY and friends sit still and ask a bunch of questions to get caught up, the audience is bored because we know all of this already. Getting a confirmation that Ozpin's cane isn't a relic was a cute nod to the audience's theorizing from previous volumes. A lot of people had wondered that in the comments, and so having the characters outright mention it was a nice acknowledgement of the fans. But that doesn't make it funny. Having the characters laugh does not guarantee that your audience will follow suit. Not to mention that Lindsay struggling to keep RWBY's fake-ass voice consistent during the scene is distracting.
Who was it?
The phone is see-through, dude. You can see Leo's face right there. There's no reason for Oz and Crow to be so suspicious of Lionheart. He acted reasonable in front of them earlier and hid his allegiance to Salem well. It seems they only know not to trust him because the script says so. In episode 1, Leo says,
"With these coordinates, we can mount a retrieval force and head out in a few weeks."
Crow expresses his disappointment at the wait, and Leo rebuts with,
"As soon as possible does not mean tomorrow, it means as soon as I can convince the rest of the council that I need huntsmen more than they do."
Here, Leo calls to say,
Says he had a breakthrough with the council. Thinks he might be able to get together a small raiding party for the bandits.
Now what part of that sounds drastically different from the original conversation? The writers and characters simply pretend that they've written Leo into a corner and that he's suddenly showing signs that he might not be trustworthy. Except they didn't. Leo has kept his word to Crow, as far as the heroes can tell. He promised to speak to the council to try to get some huntsmen and has now managed to obtain some. Ozpin's line of,
"That sounds drastically different from your original conversation, does it not?"
is completely bullshit. If Leo had insisted that it would be practically impossible to get some huntsmen, then this would seem suspicious, but as it is now, Leo just seems to be trying his best to help Crow find the maiden. If you want your characters to stop trusting each other, then actually write a reason for it. Don't just pretend you've done it already.
"I'm helping her for the same reason you are. I'm afraid."
Get it? He's the cowardly lion! Leo and Raven's chit-chat also gets next to nothing done. Leo gives us very little on his motivations, implying the writers just wanted to set him up a bit more so we'd care more about his demise. And Raven refuses to answer any questions, withholding any insight into her character that the viewer could make. The scene ultimately just feels like there should have been more here that just got cut for time. Why the motherfuck is the lady of the house holding off the assassins while her bodyguards cower and hide? Is it because they know they don't have the plot armor that keeps the Belladonnas safe? While the last scene felt cut down, this one feels inserted in. It's really slow and clunky and ultimately feels superfluous. As if the writers were working on the episode and thought, oh yeah, we should probably show what's been happening with Kali. This makes the sequence feel like no care went into it. Kali blocks a bullet by slowly holding up a wooden tea tray, so she can look away from the assailant to slowly quip at her guard. An assailant we never see, by the way. They couldn't even be bothered to add an enemy to this fight scene. Yuma's entrance provides an antagonist to pit Kali against, but she just hits him with a tea tray and it's over. Everyone, it's your favorite bat Faunus, Yuma! And now he's done. Like, they built up Yuma so much for this? For Kali to run at him so slowly that Tara Platt has to scream twice to fill the time? Adding speed lines doesn't make it any less stupid, guys. If characters are gonna fight, then actually animate them fighting.
Just stay out of my way.
She's attacked you twice now. Do you really think she's gonna do that? This whole fight is pretty fun. When the characters actually fight each other, they spend more time standing around talking to each other than they do actually trading blows. It feels like I'm watching a stage play, where you know everyone's just acting, and you can see them not try too hard so they don't hurt each other, and you can tell that their choreography was rehearsed. I've never encountered an animated show before that feels like I'm just watching actors perform like how RWBY does. This part is dumb, and it's dumb for like 5 different reasons. 1. These two are both Faunus. Now Faunus have night vision, as told to us by Pyrrha and Blake back in Volume 1.
Many Faunus are known to have nearly perfect sight in the dark.
This ability was even utilized in Volume 2.
He can't see in the dark.
Turning down the lights wouldn't hinder Blake's ability to see Ilya. 2. Ilya's weapon produces electricity. Why did I say it so weird? Ilya's weapon produces electricity, which means it makes light. Which means even if Blake couldn't see where Ilya was, like how they pretend she can't, Ilya would give away her location every time she tried to use her weapon. 3. We can see Ilya clearly, making Blake look stupid for not being able to. It's the watching actors perform problem all over again. 4. This is Blake's house. She knows where the light switches are. She could just turn the lights back on. But the director told her not to do so, so I guess that's why she chooses to light the house on fire instead. 5. Ilya uses this tactic to literally only try to hit Blake 3 times total. Why establish a new element into a fight scene just to not use it? They simply present this idea of fighting in the dark, but then just have the characters talk more before illuminating the set again. They could have had a portion of the fight be done where we only see snippets of the skirmish as Blake's gun offers a moment of illumination, not dissimilar to Osmond's fight with Cinder. But no, they just make everything blue and then burn down the house. If I had to guess, I would assume that the writers thought of Blake's speech first, and then came up with a reason for the house to be caught on fire retroactively. The problem is that their solution of Ilya turns off the lights so Blake lights a raging fire to be able to see again feels ridiculously lazy. It ignores the given circumstances of not only Faunus' abilities, she can see in the dark, but also Blake's backstory. She'd rather burn down the house than look for a light switch. These sorts of things matter. If you're not willing to take into account your own mechanics or believable character motivations, then why the fuck are you in charge of presenting the story to a larger audience? I hate that Ilya can so easily block Blake's bullets that Blake can use that as a tactic to freeze her weapon. What's the point of having guns in the show if bullets never hit? Oh right, they're so characters can stand still and fire flaccidly at each other so they can have a conversation while lackadaisically blocking their shots.
If no one's going to do anything to stop the humans that attack us, then the only choice we have left is to attack back!
What is RT's deal with the word attack? They did this in Volume 3 too, where Yang uses the word attack like 3 times in a sentence.
I saw him attack me, so I attacked back.
Thesaurus.com exists. Look up a synonym for attack, guys. This is really well done. Blake and Ilya's dialogue here sounds believable, and both of the ladies' performances are rocking it. Ilya's breakdown doesn't feel like it came out of nowhere, and the animation helps to sell her moment of giving up really well. Good job. Oh no! Gira's been stabbed! If only he had a big dumb shoulder pad there to protect him! This looks dumb. If you're just gonna steal shit from My Hero Academia, at least learn how to make your fights exciting like them. Why are we spending so much time just having the characters look around? Like, shit dude, fast action, high intensity fight scene, stop everything so we can watch Ilya look around for a bit. Who thought this was a good idea? This part with the gunchucks is awesome. It's the only part of the fight with great weight and speed. It doesn't feel like I'm watching actors do their choreographed moves, it feels like 2 people really fighting. It's fast and exciting with clear effort put into the moves and animation, resulting in perhaps the best fight sequence of the volume. Why do the directors love having Ilya get pinned? Have Sun hold her down, and Blake, and Sun again. Like, chill out. Why does Blake just stand still, not doing anything to help her dad for a full 20 seconds while Fennec grabs the other dagger? Why doesn't Fennec shoot one of his really slow fireballs at Gira rather than run up needlessly to him? Why does the balcony explode? Why is the whole sequence done so slowly? Why doesn't the show have somebody working on it to ask these sorts of questions? I think Blake's speech here is the best given in the show so far. She's not just rambling or telling us shit we already know. Erin's performance has a lot of emotion in it, and overall, it has a point. Most speeches in RWBY seem to happen because there should be a speech, not because any of the characters have something important to say, but here Blake's progressing the plot and developing the story, all while keeping the audience entertained. Maybe Gira should take a few cues from his daughter. Why does Ilya get a pass on all that she's done so far? She spied on the Belladonnas, stabbed Sun, tried to kidnap Blake, was going to kill Gira and Kali. Why isn't she getting arrested like Corsic? Because she's a cute girl? Because she has a crush on Blake? Because she switched sides at the very end when it was clear she couldn't win otherwise?
She's learned a lesson that evaded me until I was much older. That there is strength in forgiveness.
Would you offer such forgiveness to the Albane brothers? To Adam? Don't get me wrong, I like Ilya, I want her to be on the good guy's side, but simply ignoring the sins of her past because Blake's her friend is a problem. Just because she never pulled the tee-hee evil shtick like the Albane brothers doesn't mean she's innocent. Have her join the heroes in a way that doesn't just push aside her past to throw more ship bait at the audience. And so, that was True Colors. I really went in on this episode. This video could be titled Huge Grump Yells About RWBY and would it be an inaccurate title? And I'm upset about that because I remembered really liking this episode. Before I rewatched it for this review, I had considered this episode to be one of the best of the volume. But upon further inspection, it's kinda bad. The first 7 minutes are practically useless, just more sitting still and talking while getting nothing moving forward. The fights are slow and clunky, with most of their time spent either having the characters chit-chat or just stare at each other. Character decisions are forfeit to whatever the script needs them to do without considering motivations or backstory. I'll burn down my house so I can make a speech later. We'll all forgive Ilya because she's cute and the audience can ship her with Blake. And to be clear, there are good moments in the episode. Learning Ozpin's cane isn't a relic was nice. Sharamelay's performance is consistently great. Seeing Sun use his gunchucks was fun. The plot actually progressed with Blake's speech. Blake's arc reached a conclusion that didn't feel rushed. But these small bits can't fix the whole episode. Overall, it feels rushed out, with only a few people working on it really trying to make a quality product, and that's a shame. Because those few good bits are really good, and if they allowed themselves to put that kind of effort into the whole of the project, then I could sit here and still find this episode to be one of the best. But as it is, the episode's awkward combat, slow pace, and seemingly rushed script makes it a burning mess, with small glimpses of greatness sprinkled throughout.
I was offended as a lady who was getting pushed around by this chauvinist asshole that works at Blockbuster Video, talking to me like I'm some floozy. I am a proud Asian American woman, and you will treat me with respect. I am a tiger mom.